Oh, I'm so silly. Say hello. Hi guys, I hope you're all okay. So I thought it was about time that I shared with you my birthing story. Since I've shared everything else with you, I thought why not share all the gory details. So of course everybody has a different birthing story. Some people have a really easy labour and some people have a horrific time. This is just my personal account of my labour, and to be honest with you, I had a really easy one. I don't want to give you all the impression that you're going to have a really easy labour, because let's face it, not everybody does, and I was just one of the lucky ones, I guess. I definitely am not very good with pain normally, so I don't know what it was that got me through giving birth, but something did, and fortunately I had a pretty good time. It was due on July the 12th and baby did not come then. The day before, which would be the July the 11th, I had early labour symptoms. I was up all night with back pain and tummy ache. So when I started having symptoms on the night of the 12th of July, early morning of the 13th, I kind of knew it was happening. Really restless trying to sleep. I had kind of period pain-ish. I had really bad backache, bellyache, nothing too much, but I definitely couldn't sleep. I went to bed as normal, and at about 1 o'clock I gave up trying to sleep because it was kind of really, it was more uncomfortable than painful at this stage, and so I was just like, no, there's no point going to bed. I tried to rest, like I didn't get out of bed because I kind of thought if I am in labour I'm going to have a horrific day ahead. I'm going to try and get as much rest as possible. By about 4 AM I woke Mike up and was like, no, I'm in too much pain now, you need to get up. But no, Mike got up and he went downstairs to get the TENS machine, which fortunately arrived a couple of days before, which I'm so grateful about because the TENS machine got me through early labour massively. In a vlog a while back I sort of asked questions and I had mixed feedback about the TENS machine. Some people said it was really good, some people said it was a waste of time. I was told that if I used it early enough it would be really effective, and for me it was. It blocked out all of my back pain, which at that point is what I was struggling with the most. So at about 4:30 maybe, I rang the hospital just to kind of find out what to do. Not in terms of pain or how to cope with the pain, but I didn't know what sort of stage I would go to hospital. I didn't want to get sent home, and so I just rang them for a little bit of advice. They told me at that point that I only need to go to the hospital if I was bleeding, if my waters had broken, or if my contractions were 3 every 10 minutes for a minute. At that point they kind of were, but they were a little bit all over the place. I remember looking at the app. We had an app. Mike was keeping track of them. I was like, now. I remember them lasting on average about 47 seconds. The majority of them were coming every minute, but then there were some that were coming every 13 minutes. So it was kind of a bit unbalanced and a bit all over the place. I stayed at home. We kind of just stayed in bed.
Breathe. Switch the TENS machine to a different intensity. Go into do it. You're doing well. You're doing well. You're doing well. You're doing well.
Tried to eat but I couldn't. I just wasn't feeling like it. Honestly, I didn't at 1 minute think that I was in labour. I didn't ever consider that I was in labour or that I was going to be meeting my baby soon, which I know is really bizarre because it was the day after my due date, so obviously I knew the baby was coming, but I never gave it that thought process. If I'm completely honest, I think that did me the world of good because I didn't panic, and I was just breathing through everything at that point. I didn't go to any classes or read up on breathing techniques or anything. I just figured out something that worked for me while I was giving birth, and it was literally just breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth. Is that the right way around? And that's what worked for me. By about 7 AM I rang my mum. I thought I'd leave it to a sensible hour. I was like, look, I think this is happening. She was like, yeah, I know. I knew it was happening today. And my dad had apparently been up all night because they knew it was happening, which is crazy. I rang the hospital again because things were getting a little bit more painful, and they told me to take a bath. By the sounds of it, I don't think they thought I was in labour. So they told me to have the bath, because by having a warm bath, that will show whether you're in true labour or not. If you're in forced labour, the pain will go, like a period pain, I guess. And if you're in real labour, the pain will not go. I had a warm bath and the pain just didn't go. It was getting a little bit more uncomfortable. On a 1 to 10 scale, I'd probably say it was a 6 maybe. I could definitely cope with it. It definitely wasn't too unbearable. But anyway, so I got a little bit too hot in the bath. So I got out after about half an hour because I wasn't comfortable, and if there's anything that I know from being in labour and giving birth, you need to be comfortable and you need to find what's right for you. So I got out of the bath. I told Mike to come and help me because I couldn't get out of the bath properly on my own. And I passed out. I think I passed out not because of the pain. I think at that point, because I realised I was in real labour, that this was happening, and kind of the shock maybe, I don't really know. I said to Mike, I'm going to pass out. I felt myself go, and he said, oh, and yeah. So then I threw up, and Mike said, what's that over there on the floor? And it was my official show, which isn't glam, it's not nice, and it certainly isn't pretty. But yeah, it was my official show, so I knew it was happening. At that point, Mike rings my mum. Mike didn't even have a chance to say anything, and my mum said, I'm on my way around now. So my mum comes round. I'm kind of tidying up-ish, packing away cameras, chargers, memory cards, spare batteries, and chucking things into my hospital bag that I didn't need, like things that I suddenly thought, oh my god, I might need that, which, may I add, I only used my cooling down spray, obviously stuff for baby, pyjamas and stuff, and I think that's it. I didn't get my cameras out, I didn't get any chargers out, I don't even know where my phone was the whole time. Literally I didn't touch anything. Maybe that's a whole new video. I remember at this point saying to Mike, did you put the chicken in the freezer? Which is ridiculous because I'm in labour, I'm about to give birth, and all I'm bothered about was whether he put the chicken that was meant to have for our roast dinner in the freezer. Mike drove me to the hospital. Speed bumps were awful, roundabouts were awful, and in the space of a 5-minute journey, maybe 10-minute tops, I think I had 3 huge contractions. We got to the hospital and the labour ward sent me around to triage to be examined. They sent us around to triage and they examined me. They sent me off for a urine test and I was bleeding quite heavily. So I called the nurse in, she said that was completely normal, and they did their internal examination. Then they turned around and told me I was only 2 centimetres dilated. It freaked me out because I thought, how can I be in this much pain and have come to the hospital and I'm only 2 centimetres dilated? In my mind beforehand, although I didn't have a birth plan or anything, I didn't want to go until like the last stages because I didn't want to be in hospital too long. They tried to send me home and I kind of refused. Mike had a little word with them and said, look, she really doesn't want to go home. The contractions are as far apart as you told us they would need to be for us to come into hospital, so can she stay? And they let me. So we walked around to a ward, which is actually where I was born, which is really nice. But the ward itself was full of people that were being induced the next day or being observed for other things, and I kind of felt really uncomfortable that I was there because at this point I was kind of making some noise.
There you go, just breathe through it. Well done.
I didn't actually speak much at all through my labour. I probably said 1 or 2 words. One was oh and then I apologised to my mum. The rest of the time I had Mike in one hand, my mum in the other, and I literally breathed in and out the whole time, and that got me through it. I think I may have been sick in the ward, I'm not sure. My contractions were literally 30 seconds, a minute apart, and they were very strong. Again, I think that they thought I was exaggerating, which I wasn't. I wasn't in an outrageous amount of pain, but it was painful, like contractions hurt, and I constantly felt like I needed to poo, which again isn't pretty, isn't glamorous, whatever. I mean, I was still a candidate for the birthing centre, which I was so happy about, but I wouldn't be able to go there until I was 4 centimetres dilated, which was another 2 away. By the way, we went to hospital at about 10 AM, so this is now about 12, I would say. Mike then went and said, can she have a fan because she's really hot. I was just like, I'm hot, I'm hot. He was spraying me with my cooling spray and they couldn't find a fan, which I think is ridiculous, because just ridiculous. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. They kept telling me that I should get up and have a walk, which really annoyed me because there was no way I was going to be able to walk, but they kept trying to encourage it by asking Mike to tell me to go and have a walk, because obviously I'm going to listen to him more than them. But I knew that I physically could not walk. So at that point, both my mum and Mike were really concerned that my contractions were so close together. I was in such pain at this point, and they didn't seem to be bothered, probably because they didn't think I was that far along. Mike went out to the little nurses station and said to them could they re-examine me, which they did after a little while. I can't fault that. They did come back and re-examine me, and at that point I was 5 centimetres dilated, so within an hour and a half, I would say. My timings probably aren't completely 100% because I had no sense of time at that point, but I think within about an hour and a half I'd gone from 2 to 5 centimetres. So at that point I could then obviously go round to the birthing centre, which fortunately was free. So a midwife from the birthing centre then came round to collect me. I remember going into the room thinking, oh, this is pretty nice. It was really big as well. It wasn't anything like a hospital, which I really liked. And she told me they didn't have the birthing pool, which although again I didn't have a birthing plan, I did have it in my mind that I might have wanted to use it. But when it got to this point, I did not care. That baby was coming out somehow and I didn't care how it came out. I went into the whole thing kind of really ignorant. Ignorance is bliss and all that, and I think that was the right thing for me. I didn't have the opportunity to worry too much. Of course, I'd watch One Born every minute and heard everybody's horror stories that they love to tell you when you're pregnant, but I kind of never thought too much about having the baby. I thought about before I had the baby and after I had the baby, but I didn't actually think about having the baby, which in hindsight worked for me hugely. I made my way over to a beanbag and fell onto it like hands first. They asked me if I would have a student midwife help deliver the baby, and I said yes, because everybody has to learn and everyone starts somewhere, so I was more than happy for her to deliver my baby for me. So they took me through pain relief options and stuff. I didn't want any pain relief, not because I'm a hero or I want to be the I didn't have pain relief girl. It was purely because I didn't like the thought of an epidural because it was in my back and I'm not good with needles anyway. I didn't want a drip in my hand because the thought of having a drip in my hand freaks me out massively. I didn't want the other one, what's it called, pethidine maybe, because it makes baby tired, and if they're breastfeeding it can make them a little bit lazy to begin with. What else? Gas and air. I was open to it, but I didn't really want it because I had a feeling it would make me feel nauseous. However, they did have the big cannula of the gas and air there, so she said, go on, give it a go. If you don't like it, you don't have to have it. I did have it. I thought I'll give it a go. It's there, why not? If it's going to take away every bit of pain, then I'm all for that. I took one puff of it, is that what you'd call a puff of it, and threw up everywhere. Pretty much on Mike, but I don't know if it actually went on him. And I said, get it away from me, I don't want it. So yes, I remember looking at the clock, and which was just above me, and thought, I wonder if I'll meet my baby tonight. Now this was at about 1:45, 1 o'clock I think, and I really had it in my head that I had the whole day ahead of me, which I think is why the cameras didn't come out, the phones didn't come out, and I literally just sat there holding Mike's hand at this point. My mum was the other side of the room because she wanted us to have our time. I was feeling a lot more pressure. I still hadn't spoken. I'd been taking sips of water and everyone was like, do you want water? Do you want water? And I was just like, yeah. That was all I did. Other than swear once, that's all I said, was like yes to water and no to walking. I started feeling a lot more pressure down there, which I'd felt for quite a while, but it had increased a little bit. This is probably TMI. In fact, it is TMI for YouTube. I needed a wee and there was no way of me walking, and I kind of thought if there's any opportunity for me to wet myself, it's now. And so I kind of just went. Then trying to go to wee seemed difficult because of the pressure, and you kind of, I don't know, it feels like you need to poo. That's the only way I can describe labour and giving birth, is feeling like you need to have a poo and then feeling like you're pooing. Which is gross, I'm sorry. This is a birth story video, so you kind of probably expected worse. Rather than little tiddle, it kind of went gush, gush, gush. So then I said, I think I'll just weed myself, and they said, are you sure it wasn't your waters? They came over and I'd actually pushed so much that my waters are broken, which is brilliant. So that was one thing out of the way, having to worry about that. That was done. Then the midwives and that, you know, were setting up and getting things ready. I'm still in my own clothes, I think a black vest top, and still wearing my bra, and I'd taken off my knickers and my trousers and was covered up. They kept me very dignified, which is something I must say I loved about the birth centre. They really cared about me. Whether or not they cared about me individually, I don't know, but it came across as they really cared about me, and I think it was too much trouble. They looked after me, they kept changing the sheets that were around me to keep me dignified. They kept cleaning me up the whole way through. I then continued to breathe, but my breathing must have changed a little bit, and the midwife turned around to me and said, are you pushing? And I kind of looked at her and was like, I don't know, I think so, I don't know, maybe I'm not, I'm doing something, something's different. And so her and the student midwife come and had a little look, and they said they could see the head, which still I kind of thought my baby wasn't going to be here for hours and hours and hours. However, they had at this stage told Mike and my mum that my baby would be here within 30 minutes, which is incredible. I didn't know that. And I'm glad that I didn't know that then. So then Mike's like, come on, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. I started pushing properly, and from what was feeling like I needed to do a big poo was that I was doing a big poo. It kind of started stinging as opposed to hurting. I can't say that I was pushing because I was feeling a contraction. I didn't feel contractions at this point, I was just pushing. I don't know if that's the right thing or the wrong thing to do, it's probably completely wrong, but I was just pushing, pushing, pushing. And baby's head was going in and out, which she said was completely normal. Of course, the biggest part of the head stung like a... I'm sorry to use that word on here, but it stung. But the contractions were a hell of a lot worse than the pushing, which I thought would be the other way around. And she said, baby's head's out, and I was like, what? So I looked down. She then says to me, your baby's going to be here in the next push, just give us one little push and your baby will be here. And I started freaking out. My continuous breathing then got a hell of a lot more heavy, and she said, no Laura, don't panic now, don't start scaring yourself, breathe how you was breathing before, take them slower. Had this been in a labour ward, I think things would have been a little bit different, but she then said, this baby comes out, I'm going to put him on your chest and make him cry, which I found out afterwards means your baby has his umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, so he can't breathe, so we're going to put him onto you and we're going to make him cry. And I'm so glad that I didn't know that it meant that. So I did, and the next thing, my baby was on my chest. He was born at 2:51 p.m, which was hours before I thought I would be having him. It was a very quick birth. I can't explain to you the feeling of what it feels like when... May I just add that I've tried to film this video 3 times already, but I cried every time, and this is the furthest I've got. I can't explain to you the feeling of when they put your baby on your chest. You've waited all that time to meet that baby, and you've gone through giving birth, and I've been thinking that it was going to take like a whole day, and I've got my little baby on my chest making these cute little noises, and I'm holding his finger and I've got him wrapped in a towel and I'm just looking at him, and he was perfect. And I looked at Mike and I don't think we really spoke, and I said, Mum, come over. So she kind of looked over and was like, oh, was texting and ringing everyone already, and it was honestly the most magical moment of my life. Within that second, I knew that that baby was my world, and anything he wanted I will give him. And I think I Instagrammed a picture and was like, love like I never knew existed, and that's exactly it. I felt so much love for that little boy, and I just loved him so much already. Of course I loved him while I was pregnant, but I just had this overwhelming feeling of, you're my life. And I was so worried for him and scared for him already. And you know, they say mums worry. Literally, I'm already worrying about him. Looking at him and I'm thinking, I don't even know what to say to you, because I feel like you know everything already, and I feel like I've told you everything. Oh my god. And I felt so proud of him already, and so then, oh, so silly. Mike cut the umbilical cord, which was just amazing. Baby was laid on my chest. Mike was cutting his umbilical cord, and it was one of those moments that I'll just never forget, like looking at my boyfriend cutting our baby's umbilical cord like away from me. Oh god, Laura, why am I putting myself through this? It kind of was just one of those moments where it was like, this is our family, and I would do anything for them. The first thing I said after having him was, is that it? I thought it was going to be a lot worse than that, which is absolutely ridiculous, and I kind of feel like an idiot for saying it. I feel bad for saying it because I know some people have a really bad labour, and I don't want to come across like a complete idiot. When he was first placed onto my chest, I remember we kind of had a little bit of a joke. His first thing that he did for his mum was poo all over her. He literally pooed all up me, which was lovely. The midwife then asked me if I wanted to be tidied up before him, and I was like, no, sort him out first, baby comes first. So they cleaned him up and they weighed him. He was £8.15, which is pretty big, and Mike went and put on his nappy and his first outfit, which was just dreamy to watch. He took me through the options of what I wanted for my placenta, whether I wanted to deliver it naturally or have the injection. I chose just to have the injection, just to get it out of the way as quick as possible. I kind of was dreading that the most, the whole placenta thing, because stupidly I'd googled what placenta looked like and it freaked me out. After a little bit of tugging away at the umbilical cord and all that, my placenta came away. They asked me if I wanted to take it home, which I guess people do, but that's not for me at all. And the student midwife asked if she could study it, and I was like, yeah, have it, do what you want with it. I definitely don't want it. They then started to check me over, which was an experience because I didn't know that they put their fingers up your bottom. They do that, just in case you didn't know. You don't care at this point. When people tell you that you don't care about who sees what when you're giving birth, it's true, you literally do not care. And I was more than happy for her to do whatever. That was to check if I had torn or anything. I had a 1st degree tear and the rest were just small grazes. So fortunately I didn't need any stitches. So I did have a pretty nice birth. I didn't have pain relief, I didn't have stitches. And yes, they cleaned me up and kept me very dignified. The blood afterwards is pretty horrific. I'm still in my own clothes at this point and there's blood everywhere. They're cleaning me up as we went. I remember saying to the student midwife that I didn't know what to say to him, and that for the past 9 months I'd been thinking about what I was going to say, and you know, you see it on TV and they're all lovely and amazing and say the most incredible things. But I said to her, I don't know what to say to him. I just want to look at him, and I did. Everyone left the room for different reasons, you know, the toilet or to go and get me a drink from the machine and ring someone and to tell them the news. And me and baby had a little chat. And that was definitely one of my favourite moments of the whole experience. I just sat and I told him some things. I'm not going to tell you what I said, or, you know, our conversation or my conversation, but I just had one of those moments where I was just talking to him, and it was just one of those moments where it was like telling him how much I loved him and blah blah blah. I was just about to say silly mummy, that's too much baby talk. Just a magical moment, and another one of those moments that I definitely won't forget. The benefit of being in the birth centre was that there was no limit on guests and stuff. It told me that mine and Mike's family were all outside, and so after they cleaned me up and made me a little bit more, you know, presentable, family came in, and it was amazing seeing my family and Mike's family coo over him and hold him and give him cuddles and show him love, and just watching that was amazing. And oh, it was incredible. It was amazing. I'm so in love. When people tell you that the pain disappears so much and you forget it after you've had the baby, they're not lying. That pain is nothing. Once you have your baby in your arms and your baby's here forever, and the baby that you've been waiting for and talking to and buying things for and preparing the nursery for is in your arms, that pain is nothing, and you'd do it all over again a million times, because I would. That is my birthing story. I'm sorry if I rambled on. I probably did. I've changed my battery 3 times, I think, but I hope you have enjoyed it. Please do give me and Harrison a thumbs up if you have, and do subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you're all okay, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.